Listen, as students prepare to return to school, we're going to examine whether hurricane-affected schools are truly ready amid ongoing repairs, delays, and temporary arrangements across the island. Marlon Morgan joins us. He's Parliamentary Secretary in the Ministry of Education, Skills, Youth, and Information, and he's going to give us an update on what's happening, Marlon. Morning.
Absolutely. Morning, Simone. Morning, Delia. I'm delighted to be joining you and just giving our viewers and indeed our parents and other stakeholders in education an update as to where we are. So thanks for having me.
August 25. Marlon, the clock is ticking, and
September
parents.
morning is just around the corner.
Yes. How confident are you that the hurricane-affected schools will be ready for September morning?
So as a ministry, we're pulling out all the stops. We are dotting I's and crossing T's and working assiduously to ensure that we are in as good a state as possible for the September 7 official commencement of school for the 2026-2027 academic year. Now, we are not where we would ideally want to be, having regard to certain delays that we have encountered, particularly the concerns and complaints we have received from our contractors and indeed other stakeholders like our school leaders. But all in all, I want to place some things into context for our viewers. We had 689 of our public education institutions suffering damage as a result of the passage of Hurricane Melissa in one way or another. What we did as a ministry was to determine 3 priority categories. Priority 1, 2 and 3, which saw priority 1 schools being those schools that were most severely affected and damaged by the passage of Hurricane Melissa. There were 309 of them, ladies. There were between priority 2 and priority 3 schools, which are the schools that suffered major to minor damages. Those schools number in the order of 377. So it gives you a sense as to the magnitude of the damage that our schools suffered. And as you can appreciate, many of them were out in Western Jamaica. So in terms of where we are now, we have some 43 of the priority 1 schools really that are complete in terms of reconstruction. I gather there are some 25 of our schools that will be complete in time for September 7 reopening of schools. And there are some 277 of the schools that will be having to utilize some form of mixed modality of learning.
The priority 1 schools?
Which includes priority 1 and perhaps some priority 2 and 3 schools as well. There are 277 of them that will have to be utilizing and resorting to mixed modalities. And by that we mean they may have an extended school day, they may have to resort to and rely on learning kits, they may have to rotate students, like have one set of grades coming in on a Monday, another set coming on a Tuesday. Then, they come in on different days to kind of ensure that there is some face-to-face engagement. Because we recognize as a ministry that the face-to-face traditional modality in education is the optimal. The students react to it better, they interface with their peers and their teachers, and the assimilation, the anecdotal data and the literature tells us is better and more optimal when we have the face-to-face modality. So that's why we prioritize that as a ministry. And as I said before, we're not where we would want to be because a number of the contractors have leveled complaints in relation to the sheer availability of workers. So Jamaica
it's the workers that's the problem.
Yeah.
It's not the material, it's the workers.
So Jamaica is really at technically full employment. And there are challenges on the part of some contractors in respect of accessing laborers, but even more so, Delia and Simone, skilled workers, because as we effect repairs to school plants, you can appreciate that the roofing work that is to be done, you need a carpentry skill set, electrical installation skill set, and other key, technical work to get our school plants back up. And what we are heartened about, though, as a ministry, is that by virtue of the specifications that we have given to the contractors and the system in general through the ministry's technical services division and indeed the National Education Trust NET, our contractors will ultimately be held to delivering schools that are more fit for purpose, more climate proof, and of course more resilient. Because as we know, based on where Jamaica is situated, we are subject to the vagaries really of adverse weather. And therefore, to the extent that other hurricanes or tropical storms, God forbid, will come our way, the truth is that we have to ensure that our plants can withstand or stand up as best as they can to the vagaries of adverse weather.
You went down, you did a tour.
Yes, I did.
What do the manifestations of those contractor issues look like? Is it roofs not being on still? Is it walls that have not gone back up? What are you seeing?
It's the entire raft of construction-related gaps and deficits in many instances. So to the credit of our portfolio minister, Senator Dr. the Honorable Dana Morris Dixon, she tasked us as members of the political directorate in the ministry to come out of the AC offices and go into the spaces and eyeball for ourselves. And we've been doing that over the past 3 or 4 weeks, where unannounced, we go to the respective schools. We seek to engage with the school leadership on the ground because they, as you can appreciate, are best placed to give us, very useful and reliable information as to what has been happening, when did the contractor take custody of the site, how have they been performing, and we have interfaced with the contractors as well, with a view to impress upon them the importance of working with alacrity to try and expeditiously get the work done, because September morning is upon us. In some instances, some of them complained about the weather events, because we're at a point now where some sections of the island, notwithstanding the fact that we are encountering drought conditions here in Kingston, some parts of the island, like the interior, places like Magotty and elsewhere, they have afternoon rains quite consistently. And as you can appreciate, it does throw off the work time. But I caution them and implore them to utilize the morning hours as best they can. So if that means getting up at 6 and just get cracking earlier so that you can utilize more of the daylight hours to the extent that you are likely to have rain once 2 o'clock once you get around to 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock and so on. So in terms of what we saw, Simone, it's the entire raft of construction-related realities in terms of some roofing still not affixed in some instances, other key provisions that are to make a build-out what it ought to be are still not in place in terms of even window installation, because there's a particular supplier here in Jamaica which seems to be the main supplier of those metal louver blades that are used at our schools. And I gather that that supplier has been running into some challenges with respect to the conflict, as it were, in the Middle East, because the cost of bringing in a container with the raw materials that they use to fabricate the windows for our schools, those costs are quite prohibitive. And if they were to come in, it would exponentially shoot up the contract costs for us as a ministry. And quite frankly, we're spending somewhere in the order of $25 billion to effect repairs across our damaged schools.
It's going to require continued pivoting, Marlon, from not just the students, but the teachers, parents,
and school administrators.
And school administrators. What is the feeling on the ground with them and the ministry and that partnership that's going to be required to keep the students actively engaged and not lose any more of them because we're pivoting like this?
Very, very profound question, Delia, because as you can appreciate, our stakeholders in education have been through a lot. This has been a particularly tough, and this past academic year has been particularly tough and trying, not least on our parents and the students themselves, and even more so our teachers. One of the things we focused attention on, for example, last year in the immediate aftermath of Hurricane Melissa, was just the sheer psychosocial well-being of our stakeholders in education. As a ministry, we have a contract with a raft of clinicians, persons who are, have the skill sets to deliver psychosocial support, and those services come at no cost to the sector. So we know that a number of teachers may feel despondent and, anxiety will be pervading the space right now. But I just want to, as Parliamentary Secretary, and on behalf of my colleagues at the ministry, our Permanent Secretary, our State Minister, and our Portfolio Minister, to assure our partners in education, our stakeholders, that we are working assiduously with them, we are there for them, and that is why we have been in the field over the past 3 or 4 weeks to let them know that, listen, you're not standing alone, you're not having to navigate this difficult period alone. And for parents, we're just assuring them that approach your back-to-school expenditure on the basis of prioritizing where you can. Be prepared to partner with the schools. You may not be able to pay all of the parent contributions in one fell swoop, but to the extent that you can make payment plans and just provide support to the school and pour into your school, that will all go well. I know that there's this vexing issue of book lists in terms of books that have been bought and are not used. I'm encouraging our schools to be more conscientious and definitive in relation to books. You do not want parents to go out and buy books that ultimately don't get used. And in the case where books are bought and are not used, it's very important for our parents to realize that an investment in a book, the purchase of a book, is not an investment that is wasted. The child could use the book, nevertheless, even if it is not used in class. Read it during your downtime or in your summer holidays or other holiday periods and go through the workbook or the textbook.
We have to go. Final question from me, and I want you to answer quickly before we leave. Is there any school that just will not be open come September?
No, absolutely not. All of our public education institutions will be operational come September morning. And as I said before, there are some of them, though, that having regard to where they are with respect to their repair and reconstruction efforts, they will have to incorporate the various mixed modalities of learning, which, as I said before, may include even utilizing the shift system, as we saw Minister Morris Dixon indicate in relation to the Anchovy High School.
Okay. Thanks for the update, sir. Appreciate it. And the education about different types of wood and coal stoves.
Well,
we appreciated that too. Parliamentary Secretary, Ministry of Education, Skills, Youth and Information. Marlon Morgan here with us this morning. Up next,
a journey of transformation. We soon come.